the screen share?
Yet, but as soon as I
Yes,
get it,
okay,
it's
so
on there. Okay,
yeah.
and Corey's with me, but he's right behind. And
Okay.
we think we learned a little bit last time, and let's see. Okay, so I'm. Hey, Rick, you prefer Corey? I'm good. Of course.
Okay, when we're set up with the, is the,
You're good to go.
is the first presentation in the room?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Then when that's set up and ready, I'll go ahead and do the beginning. This is Community Board 2, Manhattan, the Landmarks Committee, the second meeting for this month. There is a quorum. In order to facilitate the public comment section of the meeting, a sign-up sheet is being placed in the chat. Please fill it out if you wish to speak. Please ensure that your camera and microphone are off. You'll be elevated to panelist when your name is called. At that time, please turn on your camera and microphone and give your name and your connection to the project as neighbor, organization, representative, or an association with the project. Be sure to turn off your camera and microphone when you finish speaking. The order of the applications will be presentation by the applicant, comments in the following order: elected officials, members of the public, members of the board, and members of the committee. Following the presentation, there will be a business session of the committee to form the resolutions. Everyone is invited to remain, however, only members of the committee may participate. The first application is 363 Bleecker Street. The application is to extend the existing roof stair bulkhead to construct a penthouse, add roof safety railings around the roof, extend the ground floor rear at the rear yard, and replace the front facade windows. This application was heard last time, and we're here for the sole purpose of determining the visibility of the rooftop addition. So if you can start the presentation and just move to the whatever you're going to say about the rooftop addition.
Okay.
We don't need any of the other to be repeated.
Okay, so I'm Jason Friedman and Corey Sherman. Corey Sherman's the building owner and the local resident. I'm the preservationist. Thank you again for having us back in person. 363 Bleecker Street is a 4-story building with a existing roof stair bulkhead. And just, you know, a couple slides showing where it is to refamiliarize anybody.
Okay, just skip on, please. We've seen these to the...
Okay, the first slide is slide 4 that shows just the existing bulkhead and the proposed bulkhead portion in light gray. The idea is that we're keeping the shape of the existing bulkhead, the dark gray, and we're removing the skylight. Okay, here is the rear elevation showing in dark gray the existing bulkhead on the left, in light gray the proposed bulkhead portion, which is meant to look distinct, but it is still going to be clad with the same, what we think was original material, like standing seam zinc metal. So that'll be the same material on both the existing bulk of the bulkhead and the new shape of the bulkhead. Here's just to show you also the bulkhead's position relative to some other bulkheads or rooftop, 1-story rooftop additions, like two buildings to the left of the corner, the 4-story building there with a little bulkhead, and some other 1-story additions in the rear yards. Okay, all right, here's a section just to show existing section of the bulkhead with that skylight and the building, the proposed section, which shows us cutting through the new portion in light gray, but also shows the old portion and the existing roof. We're not changing that shape of the old portion. Okay, here's a plan, again, with the light gray and dark gray, the dark gray being the roof of the existing bulkhead, which we're just going to re-roof and remove the skylight. and the new flat roof of this kind of chamfered rectangle, the new bulkhead extension. Here's a slide showing the mock-up, just so there's clarity on the mock-up. And here's a side elevation. Again, dark gray standing seam, light gray standing seam, the new bulk portion of the extended bulkhead. Okay, here's the most visible spot, which is down on Bleecker Street, and this picture zoomed in. However, you can see the form of the existing bulkhead in the existing photo with the purple arrow, and the mock-up to the left in the existing photo, and then us doing a simulation of this root stair bulkhead extension in the background of the existing root stair bulkhead. So it always is, you know, in the background, and the foreground remains the existing bulkhead that's there. This is just around the corner on Charles Street, and you can see the existing photo on the left, not zoomed out. You know, it's just not zoomed in a lot, but there's a mock-up there. And so what staff asked us to do is to really zoom in on our proposed and make it super clear with that gray what parts might be visible from Charles Street, keeping in mind that the dark gray is already visible in any of these. Okay, now just switching over to Bleecker Street, which if you just move yourself down Bleecker Street, I'm going to say slide 13, 14, 15, that's even further. We're just really in that zoom in, you can imagine, we're just really trying to be totally clear about the fact that there's very minimal visibility over the side wall that already exists, and that's represented by the dark gray in this shot, and the light gray would be the new portions of the bulkhead. And I'm just going to leave it on this slide because from this part, this position directly across Bleecker Street, you don't have any visibility of the existing bulkhead, the proposed bulkhead, the roof railings, nothing. So the idea is that over the primary facade, this building doesn't look any different. And I'll end it with that.
Thank you. Chenault, do you have any questions?
I don't have, no.
No? How about Arturo or Anita? Do you?
Yeah, a couple quick questions. The floor plans, where is the street located?
On the bottom.
On the bottom.
Bleecker Street is in the bottom of the plan south.
Roof above fourth floor. Okay, so you're going to have some kind of a ladder to get across?
No ladder. It doesn't require that because it's not of that height. It's a 4-story building. We're not changing that. And we don't need that FDNY access ladder.
Okay,
yeah.
I think you do, but you're okay. Going to present it to the DLB, right?
Of course, and the Commission at Landmarks. And so if
they don't regulate that. I'm just giving you a heads up.
Of course, this will all be approved, hopefully, after everybody.
By an examiner?
Oh, a full plan examination. Okay. Yes, this is not going to be some sort of self-certified application.
All right, I'm just asking.
Oh, I just
question. Now, the other question is, why is there no fire escape on the last picture?
Oh, we're taking the fire escape off, but that's not a public hearing item. And
the window on the side view on the elevation.
Yes. Okay. You want me to go that one? I see that one. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. It's actually a door, but here's the elevation. You see existing on the top and then proposed. So you see new standing seam, roof access door, which we made have a glass. Okay. And the existing chimney, so on and so forth. To go to your photo here, that's a door. There's actually, you see 2 doors. You see the door that already exists, which you can't see well now because it's black and painted, and then the door on the left.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Arturo, do you have any questions?
No questions at the moment, no.
Okay, Eugene, do you have any questions?
I do not, thanks.
Okay. Is there anybody either from the public or any other community board members who may not be here who I don't see, who has a question or a comment for the applicant? Please raise your hand if you do. Okay. I think that's it. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
again.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too.
Are we off? I stopped? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Correct. Yeah.
All right. Have a great night, guys. Get home early and safe.
May we, the next application is 6365 Charles Street. To combine two row houses into a single family residence.
I'm Charles Street.
Restore,
I was born on Charles.
Thank you.
I'll begin again. 6365 Charles Street. To combine two row houses into a single family residence, restore the front facade, modifications to the areaways and railings, and rooftop addition, and mechanical equipment and railings, and a two-story rear yard extension and excavation.
Good evening.
Again, please, when you're ready.
Sure. Thanks,
I'll
Chanel.
just say who you are, please.
Sure. Hi, I'm
We
Erin
know,
Rule. Erin Ruley, Higgins Quays Barth and Partners. We're the preservation consultants for this project. And also, if we could promote Abir Ahmad from Stephen Harris Architects. I'm going to do the presentation, but Abir certainly be available for discussion. So I won't go through the project scope again, since Chanel just summarized it very, very clearly, and we'll jump right in. 63 and 65 Charles Street, two French Second Empire style row houses. They're located on the north side of Charles Street. I think we might be in the same block you just looked at for the other project, between West 4th and Bleecker, and of course part of the Greenwich Village Historic District. And they are two buildings that were constructed in 1867 that are part of a larger row of about 7 buildings. There's some varied history there, but there's a amazing continuity to the row, which you can see here. And so when the buildings were in the row, there had been a significant amount of change when the buildings went from single family residences to multifamily, and that usually manifested itself in the typical ways of removing the stoop and changes at the areaways. And so 63 is on the right here and 65 is on the left. You can see the conditions. So at the time of the tax photo in 1940, 63 had been stripped. That happens in the late 1920s when it was converted for multifamily. The stoop was removed, entry, surround, and then all of the lintels and sills were stripped, and it received a very tall areaway gate. At the time of the tax photos in 1940, 65 was still intact. That changes in the 1950s, and this is our existing condition today. So we have the upper, in the 1950s, number 65, the stoop was altered. So we lost the railing, all the ironwork, and it got a stucco stoop rail. The entry surround was modified, as was the entry doors. You can see it has a continuous transom, whereas the historic configuration had integrated transom windows into the parlor floor doors. And then on the upper floors, all of the sills and lintels had been stripped between both the buildings. There's ornament that was lost at the parlor floor spandrels, and a simple picket railing was added at some point in, like, after designation, I think, at number 65. It was the railing had been lost prior, the historic railing had been lost prior to 1940. Both the buildings were owned recently by NYU, and in 2000, they undertook a pretty extensive project at number 63 on the right, and that included recreating the entry surround and recreating the stoop, and ironwork at the ground floor. So this is all based on extant fabric within the row. I think it was number 59, but all those details were replicated, and then the existing doors are part of that as well. So those were replicated doors as part of the project in 2000. And so the intent is to really finish the restoration of the project between the two buildings. And this is this will be handled at staff level because it's restorative in nature. And I'll let you know kind of where we vary from what can be approved by staff. But so we'll be addressing all of the areaway, all the changes at the entry and the upper sections of the facade as part of an extensive facade restoration. And so here are some of those details. The details are all going to be based, if there's extant historic fabric within the row, we'll model that. And if it's missing, then we'll be able to use the existing photo documentation to give us lintel and sill profiles, the molding details at both lintels and sills. And then here's that stoop I mentioned. It has this sort of streamlined curve. So this will be replaced with a new stoop to match the historic. And then this later ironwork will just be replaced with new restorative ironwork. And all of the patterning and detailing of the entry surround will be replicated to match the restored condition at number 63. So here we have the existing elevations, number 63 on the right, 65 is here, and then the two flanking buildings that are part of the row at number 67 and 61. And here is the proposed condition. So that restored facade with all of its detail, the spandrel recreated, all of the molding profiles on the upper windows, the recreated stoop at 65 and replicated doors, and new ironwork to match the historic at both of the areaways. And we'll look at some of the details of the areaway restoration changes after this. Above the primary facade, we have a one-story rooftop addition. This is a combination of stucco and slurried brick at this is mass at the east side of the rooftop is where the elevator extends up, and so that volume is slurried brick, and then the rest is stucco. The roof has a projecting eave that acts as a sunshade. It has a chamfered edge, so it'll have like a knife edge at the very end of the eave. The upper section is clad in lead-coated or zinc-coated copper, and the underside is parged with a stucco or plaster finish. Above that is mechanical equipment, and so you have the mechanical screen, which is a aluminum or anodized, a clear anodized finish in a louver pattern, and then above that, the mechanical equipment will pop up a bit above that, but trying to minimize the bulk of the required screen around it. And just so we can sort of acquaint ourselves, the addition is set back 15 feet from the primary facade, and it only occupies a portion extends only a portion over to number 65. It's primarily located on number 63, and there is very minimal visibility from one 2.5 foot stretch of West 4th Street. So we'll take a look at that in the visibility studies. So the changes at the areaway, we have the existing condition here, two areaways that have had a lot of change. None of the historic material remains. So they have central gates in the existing condition, and then the understoop entries. And you can see this is the recreated ironwork from the project in 2000, and then that sort of later picket railing on the number 65. And so the proposal is to reconfigure the areaway so that you enter at that sort of center gate location, down the steps, and then to excavate the small area in front of the building about 2 feet down, and that would result in a restored, recreated brownstone base at the building, and allow for an grade entry at the the lower areaway level. This configuration is exactly what was approved at the adjacent property at number 61. So there would be continuity between the three properties in terms of the new revised configuration of the areaways. It also gives planting area where we currently have none. So providing that sort of condition and felicitous aesthetics within the areaway, and streamlines the circulation a bit. The other change is that all of the ironwork in the understoops, it will be replaced to match historic within the row. It has a variety of conditions now. And so the new ironwork will be located at at number 65 and number 63. And we're also proposing to add another gate location on the west side of number 63, so that there's communication between the two areaways. And that would be detailed exactly like the other understoop gates within the areaway. And then the final change there is that within the understoop at 65, converting the existing door to a window. And that would have the same treatment as the rest of the facade. So a brownstone lower wall section and a window above. And that would have very minimal visibility because of the gate. As you know, you can't really see the doors behind the gates at the areaways. And then you would have to have this sort of very oblique angle from the street level. And so that is shown in this elevation here. So we would have one entry under number 63 and a new window location at number 65. Moving to the back of the building, this is number 63 on the left and number 65 on the right. Both have had significant alterations at the lower two floors, the basement and the parlor floor, and then largely intact upper floors at the second and third. Number 65 has been coated, but 63 has not. So this extension or this alteration, I think, dates to the 2000s. They created a double height opening at the rear facade and added a deck and stair down to the rear yard. And at number 65, this was two separate campaigns of additions in the, I think, 1980s and 1990s. That resulted in this. What you see on the right here is the existing rear extension at number 67. So looking at that in context, we have 63 on the left, 65 on the right, and then the flanking houses for context. And just as a note, 61 is currently under construction. So this is the approved condition for number 61. And here's the proposal. So starting from the bottom, the two-story rear extension at the basement and first floors. We're slightly lowering the grade by about 2 feet at the rear yard, but that will bring us into a consistent level with the houses on the left and the right. This section is cut through a different location in the rear yard, but their rear yard level is consistent with what's being proposed. The facade is a red brick with sandstone trim, so very much like a brownstone, and it would have brownstone or sandstone trim with a sandstone spandrel panel, and then multi-light windows on the basement and second floor, basement and parlor levels. And then at the parapet, we're proposing that it has a brick corbelled cornice, and that is broken into two parts to differentiate between the two buildings. And very much like the upper facade would have in the continuous row where the brick continues, but the cornices are distinct to each of the buildings. So continuing that pattern here on the two-story extension. And then the upper floors are restored, maintained and restored. And the window locations all remain the the same. The only proposed change is a new bay window that would be created from combining two windows within that second floor area. But otherwise, all of the window locations remain the same. And then as we move up to the addition, behind the parapet, there is a metal fascia, which is consistent with what we see on both sides of the at the flanking properties, and then a combination of railing and planter box, and then the addition. So the addition is set back 4.5 feet from the rear facade, and then that whole area is occupied by the planter box going along. But where the addition, because the addition's only primarily on one side of the two buildings, we need a railing beyond that for the area that's adjacent to the open space. And then, of course, above that, we have the mechanical screen and mechanical equipment. Just to point out the projecting eave, it varies in projection depending upon the side of the building, because it's acting as a solar shade. So at the rear, it projects about 2 feet. On the side, it's about 5 feet 10, and then at the front, it's about 4 feet. So it with the south and west exposures, there's a deeper projection to allow for shade when the sun is high. The extension is consistent
Excuse
with.
me, but, may I just clarify some things before you leave the back?
Sure.
What is the depth of the extension?
The depth of the extension, it varies. The site is, Abir will jump in here. The site is trapezoidal. So the addition, the addition varies from 410 to 511 from the east to the west.
There's about a 9-inch differential.
Yeah. And then it maintains, at a minimum, it maintains a 35-foot rear yard. So it varies from 35 to 36, something like that in terms of open space.
I'll come up with an average. And the other is what is the treatment between the brick and the planter box and the?
It's a metal fascia. You mean right here? I'll show it to you in detail in the
I mean, just under the planter box.
Oh, under the planter box is just it's a zinc fascia.
The gray. Okay.
The gray, yeah.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. Thank you.
That's okay. So then in terms of the context, the rear extension is consistent with other extensions we see within the block. Here, both in terms of its depth of projection and its height, most are basement and one-story extensions. And then, as you can see, the extension at 67 will project it, or does project farther than ours is proposed to, and we're just slightly out from what was approved at number 61. But also elsewhere in the block, other additions that are both deeper and vary between 1 and 2 stories. And here are just a couple of photographs of those 2-story extensions within the existing block. This is a comparable project at 79 to 81 Charles, which is located right here. Similarly with the rooftop, a collection of 1-story penthouses across the Charles Street frontage. All of these have no or very minimal visibility, and that is a result of the required setback, as well as the narrow street of Charles Street itself. And so here is our proposed addition. And again, it's not extending all the way across the two buildings, just primarily at 63. And then you can see the overhang of the eave around it. So moving to the aerial view, this is an existing aerial, 65, 63. This is 61 under construction, and then 67 is here. This is the other Charles Street project I just noted. That was the combination of 2 row houses. And here's a proposed condition. I'll note that this does not include the mechanical screen. The rendering wasn't updated in time. It was a slightly later edition, but all of the drawings and the mock-up and visibility study are accounting for the mechanical screen. It's only in this rendering that we don't see it. And so here you can see the plane of the proposed extension, the adjacent number 67, sorry, it's so many numbers. And the new combined window, that little boxed out bay window, the 4-foot setback of the new penthouse, and then the mechanical equipment above. And of course, in the context of everything else, this very active roofscape. In section, here's the existing section. And the proposed section, we'll look at this through 2 separate locations within the houses. This is cut through number 65. Red is showing you the existing outline of the existing section. And so there is a proposed excavation below the house and in the rear yard. It extends from the existing cellar level down an additional 7 foot 7 inches, and then extends into the rear yard. So that's a full cellar excavation there. And it sets back from the property line the 5 feet, the typical 5 feet that LPC requires to allow for deep plantings in that area. You also see this is cut through those rear extensions, which are removed, and then you see the sort of modest projection of the proposed 2-story extension at the back, and that 2-foot grade change at the rear yard level. And then, oh, I'm sorry, I'll just point out the setback of the penthouse. This is 11 feet. The top of roof to top of roof is 11 feet. We have another 5 feet of mechanical screen, and then 2.5 feet of mechanical above that. Oops, sorry. And then, so
Sorry, the height of it again, please.
Sure. The height is from the top of the roof level, 11 feet for the penthouse.
Thank you.
A mechanical screen is 5 feet above that. And then 2.5 feet for exposed mechanical above the screen.
Thank you.
And then, so flipping to number 63, the red outline again is the existing building. So excavating down to that same cellar level, so the 7 foot 7, and then at the rear it has a taller excavation area, and so that is going down an additional 12 foot 6 at the rear yard, and again setting back those 5 feet from the property line from the property line. And so that the extension or the excavation area here is deeper than what we had at the other location. This is why we've cut it through both sides. And you can see the proposed addition here, the setback from the rear facade with the planting area, the penthouse itself with the mechanical enclosure, and then this is a skylight that lights down to the lower floors, and the setback from the front facade. At the parlor level, we will be removing the party wall, but the proposed plan, so here's the existing plan with the existing party wall between the 2 buildings. And Landmarks regulates this because of the perceived effect on how you experience the building in the streetscape, not wanting a sort of an open cavern of space between the buildings. And so you'll see that we are proposing 2 separate rooms, and there will be a wall demising that space. It is just relocated. It's not in the same place that it was previously, but and it moves over one bay, but you'll still be able to read distinct spaces without clear sight lines all the way through. And so we think that there won't be an appreciable difference in terms of the effect from the pedestrian experience. All of the materials, I think I've talked about all of this as we've gone through the details, but just the palette of brownstone, sandstone, red brick, that slurried brick on the penthouse addition, zinc coated copper for the roof edge, and then stucco and zinc for the fascia at the back. So here we have the restored base of the building, and you can see the details within the spandrel panel, the new windows and door replicated surround all of the details of the ironwork at the ground floor, and at the rear that those materials in detail, and at the upper penthouse. We constructed a mock-up. This is reflecting all of the elements of the rooftop. There's the railing at the front of the property. This red line is reflecting the front edge of the eave, not the penthouse wall itself. So the penthouse wall itself is set back here, but this is the leading edge of that fascia, and then mechanical screen and equipment are color coded behind us. And so we're going to look at a few views along Charles Street from Bleecker. We're starting at Bleecker and we'll go over to West 4th Street. And there is no visibility anywhere except from this location at which is labeled V7. And we'll take a look at that specifically and spend more time there. So starting at Bleecker Street, looking east. So this is Bleecker and Charles, no visibility in the distance. Moving closer to the house, so we're walking east, no visibility, and then right in front of the houses, no visibility there. And then from the east, this is at the east side of Charles and West 4th Street. So there's no visibility. It's covered by this tree, but because it's wrapped in orange, we know what to look for, but there's no visibility there. And then we're walking down along Charles toward the west, no visibility as we start to approach the building or just immediately east of the building. When we go to the southeast corner of Charles and West 4th Street, we did 3 separate views at this corner. It's not visible at the corner or farther down Charles, but at the corner of Sevilla against the building, this V7B view is where it's visible from. And this is about a 2.5 foot square space where the visibility becomes apparent. And if you move slightly to the east, or slightly to the west or slightly to the north, you lose it immediately. So here are the views. This is the view we're going to be looking at. You can see you get the cornice line of the whole row, and we're behind the tree there. And then when you zoom in, you can see that slightest bit of orange extending across the front of the building. So this is again, this is set back 10 feet. This is the front edge of the eave structure. And when you look at that, this is what you're seeing. So it's this tapered edge. And so in this rendering, what we're really seeing is the underside of the awning itself, the eave itself, and then the front edge breaks right there. So it's going to be receding in the distance, and again, finished in a soft gray. So we don't think it's really going to be perceptible, even though the orange is quite perceptible in this distance. But again, just as a reminder, this is really how you experience it in the streetscape, and only for that very limited view. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Would you just for the record, speaking about both the excavation and the removal of the party wall about having engineering studies and all that,
Oh, yes, of course.
and
So
the monitoring and so forth.
yes, so this will be subject to LPC's enhanced engineering review. We have all of the documentation prepared already, and it's ready for review. And it's the same team that is always used for with the Stephen Harris projects, and everyone has a great deal of experience with it. I would also note that both the flanking properties at 61 and 67 have already had cellar excavation. So one is full depth to the to the 5-foot setback, and the other is partial. But there's already existing underpinning at the building's party walls. So we have a lot of confidence that everything is going to be properly engineered, and that there's already been significant disturbance for those projects in the recent past.
And the underpinning is virtually the entire length
Yes.
of both sides.
Mm-hmm. All the way back to the 5-foot setback. Mm-hmm.
Let me just, if everybody, one moment. I think that's all for the moment. I studied typing properly with emphasis on speed and accuracy, and you have tested my teacher's ability to teach me. Thank you. Susan?
Right. Anita?
Well, I think it's a very nicely done project, I have to say, and I like all the work on the front facade, the ironwork, the lintels are lovely. I like getting that back, so I think the restoration is very good. I wanted to ask a question, if you don't mind, about you said something about the doors and the transoms are in the door. Is that true? So
Yes.
it's operate the door, the window opens?
Yeah.
And that was the original, you say?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I can show you in the, oh, you can't really see it in the tack. Well, maybe you can. You can see the door, the operable section of the door goes all the way up to the kind of the entry hood, and the upper panel is glazed. So that was the transom for, instead of having a transom bar running across the opening.
I got that. I understand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And also, by the way, I appreciate the rear elevation. Even though I'm not sure how it operates, are these operable windows and doors in the rear first 2 floors? Yeah, they go right to the
A beard.
Erin, if you go to the rear facade, let me just turn on my camera. So yes, the doors are operable. We have about 2 operable doors on the garden level of all the ones that you see there. And then on the parlor level, we're going to have operable sort of awnings above that correlate to sort of just one of those lights at the top, and the rest will be fixed.
So this
Correct.
top light will, that row will be operable, and 2 of these doors are operable.
Correct.
Is that right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I guess finally it does appear to be minimally visible. It's a very modern, sort of international style-ish architectural style, but if it's not visible, I don't, me worry? No. That's it.
Okay, well, I took a walk over there this afternoon, and it truly is a minimally visible situation from what I could observe. I mean, obviously with all the foliage there, it's a bit of a challenge, but orange is our friend there. So anyway, it really did seem to be truly minimally visible, and only from that one spot. I have one small question. One comment, which is to thank you for such a thorough and exceptionally clear presentation. And one question, which is in regard to that sort of decorative element on the front facade below the parlor level windows, that sort of spandrel there. I see in the 1940s tax photo, what it looked like, where it came from, and what it looked like. And I don't know if this is an effect of just the rendering or whether it is something having to do with how these will be fabricated. But my concern, or my question and concern, is regarding how those are being crafted in order to avoid what in the rendering appears to be a slightly vacuum-formy kind of look, which is not really up to the standard of, which is, if that is the case, is not up to the standard of the rest of the work that you're doing. So if you could squash my concerns on that, that would be great.
Yeah, I think it is a maybe a deficiency in the rendering, because I believe, and Abir, maybe we haven't talked about this, but I believe that unit would probably be a cast unit, so that we get the depth and profile for that unit itself, and then the surrounding material would be restored or refinished around it.
Yes, that is correct.
Are there any other examples of that decorative element on the street?
There are. I don't know if they exist in the spandrel, but it's the same detail that is on the interior of the entry surrounds. There's a it's sort of like a bullseye detail, and but we will look and verify to make sure we get it absolutely right. But there's you can't see it, but in here on the side elevation of the return, it's this, I believe it's the same detail that you're seeing. Oh, here it is in this. I think this detail and this detail are the same, and the one on the front is different. It's it's foliated.
Yeah, and you can see it in the tax photo of both 65 and your neighbor at 67.
Yeah, 7. Okay. Yeah, it's been stripped at 67 for sure. But I don't know if it remains extant at any of the others. We will confirm that and make sure it's properly detailed.
Thank you. Thank you. Arturo.
Yeah, I have a few questions. I'm trying to make sure I understand this right. So for my first question, for the view of V7 where the mock-up shows is visible, what is visible there exactly? Is that the wall of the penthouse, or is that the overhang?
Erin, can I speak to this a little bit?
Sure.
Just, you know, for ease of construction, we constructed the entire extent of that projection as a wall because, you know, it's just much easier to build it that way. What's going to be visible is actually just going to be that edge. So where Erin has her cursor, that red line across is going to be really skinny. And then that sort of extends back towards the facade, which is set back about 42 inches at the front. So I think we're doing ourselves a disservice by building it this way, but that was just, you know, the most efficient way.
Right. So what's circled here is what we're actually seeing. So you're seeing that front edge and the underside. We were trying to convey it in the rendering, but it's very hard. It's so it's so tiny. And the underside of the eave itself.
Okay, and how what's the extent of the overhang again on that side?
It's about 42 inches at the front.
Okay. I had another question about the front area. It was a little difficult from the designs on page 10 and 11 to compare what the changes are actually going to be. I think I got a sense of it a little bit better from 20 and 21. What I think, looking at the historical just nature of this front area, this is past the lot line, right? So there was a revocable consent. The 1940s photo showed no gates on 65. It only showed a partial gate for 63. And then fast forward to today, there's gates all the way up to the front of the stoop.
Mm-hmm.
And then your proposal is to essentially just block off and completely transform that area. How does that work in the revocable consent?
Well, that,
sorry.
I want to just go to the section so we can show the revocable, the area, the property line is actually in the middle of the stoop.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like, it's kind of half and half.
Okay. Got it.
But there's really no difference if it was you know, at the building line or if it was out where it is now in terms of what the application for the revocable consent is, does it, Abir?
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. And I would also say we're not really altering the extents of the areaway. We're just in some ways making it more contextual with the ironwork. And I think the feeling that you brought up of feeling closed in is probably just the plantings on the street. That's, I think, what's giving it that
I'm gonna go
sense.
to the plan.
Yeah, it basically feels permanently cut off. Again, thank you for explaining the property line. That wasn't clear to me, so thank you for that explanation.
Yeah. So this is it. So you can see the property line extending here, and then so half of the areaway is kind of outside of the property line, and the other half is within it.
All right.
Well, let me just ask about that. Will a new consent be required for this?
I don't believe so, but I would have to look into that since we're not.
What we will do in order to forestall is in approving this, we'll approve
The
revocable
consent,
consent.
yeah.
So it's already in the resolution, and if they ask for it, it will be
Right.
there, and if not, that's how we do it standard now, so there's not a great to-do when it comes
Yeah.
up.
Makes sense.
That's great.
So,
Yeah,
so be
I
assured
think
that
it's
will all be one package.
perfect.
So you're not aware of the current revocable consent limits, if that's covered, or
This is the current revocable consent limits. Like it
Yes.
is, the railing is all in the same place that the existing railing is in.
Yeah, this is bringing it back to exactly what it was originally from a square foot. It's not beyond.
Correct.
And there are active revocable consents on the existing stoops. So we're just changing
saying in
the
the
material.
1940s
Yeah.
there weren't.
Well, it was one of
65, yeah, it didn't have it.
got that.
And then 63, you only had a partial.
Originally, it did have
It
it.
did not have.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, it did.
Originally before 1940.
Before 1940.
Yeah, when it was built in the
Okay.
1850s or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We go way.
Maybe too far.
I don't know.
I think I have some concerns that I just want to call out on the box out window in the back. That doesn't seem in alignment with some of the treatments we've given for the last two top floors of windows. I think historically we've asked that those retain the similar style as, as historically there. So that's just something I'll call out. And then, can you explain why there isn't continuity on the roof for the railing?
Because from a design perspective, the penthouse itself, along with the adjacent planter, it sort of blocks your access to the back. So railing was really only necessary from the wall of the penthouse over to the number 67 side. It's just the building forms a natural barrier there.
So there's no way for a person to get in between the building and the bushes and the side of the building.
Correct. The rail turns back there.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the railing here that's running north-south. It's a little hard to say.
But what would it be an issue to extend the railing just to have that continuity for safety purposes?
No, I don't. It wouldn't be an issue as such. I mean, our preference would be to not have it, but it's definitely possible.
And I think that I would just add that from a landmarks perspective, the more differentiation between the two buildings, that you can have, the sort of more welcomed it is. So if we don't need the railing on 65 or 63, then only adding it where we need it helps to sort of maintain that two building reading in a way, which is kind of Landmark's philosophical approach to projects that combine buildings that were individual buildings historically, but are now being functioning as a single building.
To that point, I would also like to say I appreciate the other gestures in that direction that I see in your proposal. All right,
Nice budget.
any other?
Is everything finished?
Oh, Eugene, sorry, Eugene,
Oh,
go
thanks.
on.
No problem, Susan. So I guess on, and again, I also echo my fellow committee members in thanking you for a very clear presentation on, the changes that are being proposed. For the excavations at the cellar level, I know that will bring it into, I guess, the same plane as the neighbors at 61 and 67. Have they been contacted as well in terms of, I think you've expressed that there's existing underpinnings?
Conversation.
Previous.
Yes, conversations have started.
Okay. All right. And that there's been no objection from them.
I'm sure there's going to be they're going to want to see the engineering. It's very, very common on these projects. I mean, as it should be. So. Okay.
All right. And then two other things. One is just a quick question on the visibility, the 7B. So the solar, that I think it's not an awning, but the extension that acts as a shade. What is could you remind me what the material is?
Yes.
And if there's any chance of it being reflective in the sun, in the sunlight?
It's the actual edge is really sort of no bigger than like 2 inches. So it's a very thin edge that's going to be a zinc coated copper. So it looks like a very dull gray, not overly reflective, and it does patina a slight bit. And the underside is going to be a plaster. So think of it like a very soft white, but it's going to be sort of the way that light catches it. It's not going to be bright. So I think we're struggling to sort of represent it because it is really so minimal.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure there's not going to be like any flashes of light that kind of, in reality would make it a little bit more obvious than what we're seeing. I agree that ultimately there's very minimal visibility from the street. And the last, Adir, I think you had mentioned something about an awning on the rear. Did I hear that correctly, or I must just misheard?
No, I think Erin mentioned that the same visor wraps around the back, and since the back faces north, it's really minimal. It's yes.
Yeah.
On the rear facade, I think there was maybe that was where
No,
I must have misheard. Okay, thank you.
Susan, is there anything else?
I don't think so. I don't see any. I'm just going to let me double check. Excuse me.
I found my 2 questions. I want to be sure I understand correctly the communication in the areaway. It's if you enter the conventional gate in 63 and go straight ahead, there's another gate that leads into the areaway of 65.
Yes.
Is that how it's
There.
configured?
Yes.
Okay. And the material of the walls of the rooftop extension of all things.
That is, it's glass and metal at the glazed portion. It is plaster stucco on the underside of the eave or visor, and then let's get to
the walls of the building.
So the walls of the building. So it's slurried brick, and then there's no solid portion on the wall. It's it's glass. This is glass, this is glass, and this is the slurried brick. So it has like a glazed corner on it, Chanel.
Okay, so
yeah.
So it's glazed with framing rather than.
Yes, exactly,
Okay.
with a,
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. It's the clarity of the drawings is of course very helpful to us. And we're always glad when this firm comes because we can read them.
yes,
And thank you for the presentation.
of course, of course.
I just checked with Mark, and nobody has signed up with any questions. Nobody wants to speak, but I just want to confirm if there's anybody here from the public with a question or a concern, please raise your hand. All right, we see no raised hands. So I think we're done. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you, Aaron. I suggest we do this first because it's so big and complicated and fresh on our minds. I have come up with no notes of objections.
I think we should talk about what Arturo brought up, which is that rear facade window.
Get a better mic position somehow.
Oh, sorry. I think we should discuss for a moment the point that Arturo raised about that sort of boxed in window on the rear facade and see what
The odd one.
The singleton, and see what others think about that.
Oh, I like it because I think it's been very respectful everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have. Can you hear me?
And combining windows is not unusual on the rear.
Yeah,
and the top floor is
a little
top.
more interesting. Otherwise, it err on the side of being a little boring,
A little overly symmetrical.
Yeah, I like it. I do. Otherwise, I would agree.
And we're dealing with no visibility except the house directly behind it.
And Arturo, if it makes you feel any better, I think typically it's really the top story where we get very strictly concerned about maintaining that tripartite configuration.
And also the volume.
And the volume.
Especially the
Right.
volume.
Yeah.
That you can actually see what a row house, so it doesn't lose its shape, its historic shape,
Right.
in the upper part.
Right. So you understand that that's still the rear facade, what the rear facade of the original building.
Yeah, I was just saying that because I think on multiple meetings, members of the committee here have emphasized trying to preserve the top two floors, especially the windows, as much as possible, and we've held other applicants to that standard. So I think we should be consistent with that.
No, I know, but I think a lot of, I don't know that it is the top two floors, that's Susan saying. And
I wrote it down.
Oh, well, that must be true. But anyway, I don't know that, I think it's the mass that's critical, because we see lots of different windows. But, yeah, okay.
I also think if you look at the neighboring buildings on 61, they also kind of have a similar rhythm where they've combined, two windows into one. So it seems like it's appropriate for this particular row.
Yeah, I think also that our concerns on occasion have had more to do with the fact that there's been a larger rear yard facade proposed, a 3-story, not a 2-story rear yard addition proposed, which really has swallowed up.
On a single home.
Right. So I think I think that may be an important distinction. In terms of
that floor is often disturbed because strangely not in this application, the top of the extension becomes a terrace. So it's not uncommon to the floor above the extension is frequently the windows are tampered with in some way and often combined into a wide French door kind of thing.
The only other two concerns I had are it would be, I think, a bit more appealing to remove the planters in the revocable consent area. That's one concern that I have, and I think I would also like to see the continuity of the metal railing across the rear. Those are the only two costs that I had, especially because even in their rendering on page 18, they do have it going across the rear.
Going up high at the roof line?
On the rear facade.
Well, we like to differentiate.
Yeah, I see
That's about
that.
the only thing we've got going, that and the window.
And the separation in the corbelled bits. But I do think that the distinction that makes in preserving visually the fact that they're two separate buildings is really important here.
I also think functionally,
They've done a remarkable job throughout with that separation.
Yeah, also
And
functionally, there's no
even
reason.
making them matching, they're still matching two matching buildings instead of one. And I passed two in the course of going to see this one, and they didn't do a good job of separating. So anything that helps it, we should encourage.
Yeah.
Eugene, please. Yeah, I know you were trying to say something.
Oh, I was just saying that, I think it makes sense kind of in that it's not functionally required at this point for, that other building because there's no way to physically fit someone there. So there's no reason for having the railing extend. And I also think it does lend a separation between the two buildings, which I think it's important to have.
And they're altogether something that we take because we have to, and that's why the wording is the required safety railing when we speak about approving it. So less the better.
I mean, I feel like we're applying a lot of things inconsistently in terms of multiple across different projects, and even for this project, the rear facade addition is completely aligned to be one continuous, uniform, symmetric unit. So I don't think I can support this application.
I feel like it's been settled.
No, I said I'm not going to support this application, Chanel.
The what?
I said I will not be voting in support of this application.
We need a little spice.
Okay.
That's it. I mean, we can't do line items, so.
Well, I think we're good. I mean, we don't have to look for more. We're good. Bleecker St.
Anything else? If not, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And so you're voting against the entire application. Did I understand that what you said?
Yes, I already mentioned a number of reasons.
I just want to record it properly.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Bleecker Street. Everyone else speak first.
Let me call it here.
First, is everyone agreed that we settled last time the rear was okay? Do you want to look at it
I
again?
didn't look at it today, so I have to short
Our concern last time was about the lack of enough information to evaluate the visibility of the rooftop addition. Now there's a mock-up. Now we can evaluate the visibility
Yeah,
of.
that's all that anybody needs to talk about. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay. Talk about it.
Well, I walked by there a couple of times today and once last week, and I am concerned about the visibility from Charles Street in particular. It's a bit on Bleecker Street, you know. I mean, obviously, all that foliage makes it difficult to evaluate, particularly from Bleecker Street. But from Charles Street, less so, and I found that it was visible, quite visible, from a section of Charles, from the street, from the public thoroughfare on Charles Street. So I will share my observations on that.
Also, in looking at the photograph with it rendered in, it looks much bigger in the rendering, at least, than the old little bulkhead they had. And then with the window, the door, as he called it, makes it also very unusual to have like this big piece of glass on the side.
Yeah. Arturo, what do you think?
I just go back to standard, and this is we've rejected things far less visible than this overall.
I think so. Arturo was going to say something.
Yes, no, I agree with y'all with y'all's assessment of the visibility. I think it was a little strange to me because this existing bulkhead is in the 1940s tax photos, and it's already very visible. So that it just seemed a bit strange to add an additional bulkhead with even more visibility. So that yeah, I didn't really understand the reason for that.
I also don't think they understand the fire. You have to have access back and forth,
right.
Landing, all that. And this looks, maybe there's enough room, I don't know, but it was altered possibly.
Well, from the north, that's been sort of aggravated by incorporating it into the addition so that it becomes a long expanse.
Right.
Not in one plane, but from front to back is a lot of stuff visible.
Right, and the whole is greater than the sum of the parts department, right?
What are we going to do now? I think we should say it's too visible.
I think so too.
Very good. Anita's so practical in her.
Make it smaller.
I would say in the sort of gradation that we use, it's considerably more than minimally visible. Because we give here and there if it's at an angle or something, or if it's a little more than minimal, and they're extenuating circumstances, but there are none here, like a tall building almost blocking it or anything. It's just boldly there.
Well, to me, also the window or the door, as he called it, draws attention because we usually don't have doors and windows on the side of the row house. And I don't even know if that one would be legal either because of the proximity. So I think the door glass draws attention to the extent, the addition.
I had one question, comment for you, Anita. What do you think about the windows? So the windows look like they are the historical windows, 6s over 1s.
Are you talking about the front facade?
Yeah, the front facade.
Well, this building was altered, probably turn of the century, but this was just a little federal style row house originally. So it's 6 over 1. Yeah, that's pretty a pretty common window from this time. This is not an 1850s or 60s, it's more like a turn of the century or a little later. But I think those are very, very common. Originally, they probably had the same little 6/6s.
Right. That was when I looked at the rendering on the last page, the 6/1s. Either the rendering just looks kind of weird, or the 6/1s looked a little off, and the 6/6s looked a little bit more natural on the neighboring building.
But look at the facade. It's got like a castle. It's got, what do they call them, crenellations or something. So it's not from that era.
Okay.
It's been refaced and added a floor. Yeah, so I don't mind it for that reason. Otherwise, it might be a little too cutesy too.
And I think with renderings in general, and we saw some of the fine points of the Charles Street one, we have to look at the rendering and question, and then, assuming reliability of the applicant, take the explanation of what it is, or a line drawing, rather than try to go deep into the accuracy of the rendering, because it just doesn't happen. And it's consistent through almost every application that there. It's not really the way it's going to look, but it's a representation.
That was approved at staff level. So it's not part of the set. What's that? The front windows? I believe they are.
Yeah, this is the front facade
On
windows.
the front page of the application. Why don't we have any window sections then? Or any information? Usually we like to know the size of the muttons. We like to know the brick mold. I mean, you know.
Is that on slide 3?
Yeah, I think it's
Yes.
3 and 4.
3 and 4.
Other
Talks about
comment,
the aluminum windows.
question?
That, okay. Is it wood?
Aluminum or no?
Aluminum. We cannot
They're
have that.
aluminum. They're aluminum clad, right? Which I don't think we.
I've lost track of what's being said.
The material of the windows is supposed to be aluminum clad. They're wood double hung aluminum clad.
Oh, originally.
And,
Okay.
but they don't allow us to do that. I don't know why we would permit that. That's why it's on here probably. But they didn't.
Microphone, please, microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Hang on, start again, Anita.
Oh, I said we didn't really. I wasn't aware that this was part of the scope. My mistake. But typically, they would not approve the cladding in a building of this size. So I don't think we should approve it if it's not, if it's an exception to the rule, and that's why it's part of this hearing. It should be wood. Yeah.
So we should ask for wooden windows,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Arjun.
Anita, would you just state clearly what you said now?
Oh, I said we didn't discuss it, and if it's an exception to what landmarks would approve at staff level, we are now in a position to approve or disapprove it, and I don't think we should approve aluminum clad windows in a building this size. Usually you have to have a bigger window, they'll let you do it, but a small building like this.
So we want them to be wood.
Yes.
I always want them to be wood.
Yeah, so we're not approving the windows unless they change the wood, right? As it's presented now, no.
However, it's settled that the 6/1 is correct. Is that right?
6/1 is fine for me. I think that's fine because of the the big renovation the building went through probably around the turn of the century.
Right. And if there's several correct windows in a situation and they choose one of the correct ones,
Oh, yeah, I like it.
I wouldn't want to say, no, you have to choose a different correct one unless there was some overriding
I
reason.
think the window is appropriate, and then, you know, people really don't want all those divided lights if they don't have to. And I think this fits the face of the building, the era in which it was renovated. You know, this isn't an 1820s. These are really old buildings on these streets. 1829 is a very common age for these buildings, and this one lost that a while ago.
Yeah, and I'm just saying also 359 has the same 6/1, so it is.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a really common window. Yeah. Really, really common from that era. So the configuration's fine. It's the material.
Right, yes, that I got that. I'll send off now the because there were Arturo had some proofreading notes and there were no other notes on the first meeting, so I'll send it tonight so she can get started on it. And I'll get this done not at daybreak, but in the morning if you are wiggly about when the morning ends, and send it to you, Susan.
Okay. Well, we're denying this, is that correct?
We are, my understanding, correct me if I'm mistaken, is that we're denying the rooftop addition for all the reasons that we stated, and that the front facade windows are a deny unless they are wooden.
Yes.
Good. Is that everything? Is that
and there is we should say for our own selves that there are cases when we might make suggestions of what to do with the rooftop, but there's nothing we can suggest a tweak to it that would make it okay.
Well, I'm also looking at this picture. I mean, this is a very important representation of the architecture of the West Village. That corner building is precious. I mean, that's what we're preserving. And to let the building next door just not respect that, I think we should definitely deny the visibility. Yeah. You know, and looking at it now, I'm like, wait a minute, that's a really, really great corner. Nice dress shop in that building.
And then Chanel, I think part of what happened right last time was that the presentation was very different from what we had in front of us. So I think we were all a little confused of the extent of the rooftop addition and all sorts of details. So I think this time when he came around, he focused primarily on the rooftop addition. But I think for the application, we are evaluating that the railings is a ground floor extension and the facade windows.
We spoke about that last time.
Yeah,
we did. Okay.
The only purpose of tonight was the rooftop, because they didn't have a mock-up last time, no matter how much it was talked about. And so now it's there, and it's a very good one and a very good representation.
And so we approved the other stuff, correct?
Yeah, we approved the rear, and now we found a flaw in the windows, so I modified that from last time.
Thank you. Just wanted to double check.
No, thanks. Chenault, did you want to report on our meeting with the various with other stakeholders on the Depolito Center?
I did. I do. It was a meeting organized between the Parks Commissioner and Borough President. And there were a number of people there from different points of interest. And the upshot was that nothing's changed at the Parks Department. And clearly they still want to tear it down. And it was just double talk of the same. And I'm characterizing it, not judging it. It was double talk of the same points that had been made over and over. And the inability, apparently, to listen to or consider the community's interest in the building, or the fact that it's in a landmark district and has that added sheen of having the landmark district jerry-rigged in order to include it.
So
it certainly gives it an importance beyond just happening to be in the district.
yeah, so I would just like to add to that, just to be clear, the Manhattan Borough President convened the meeting because he wanted to know where the Parks Department was at with all of this. So it was like an update to the community, a community being the community board. So then Valerie invited, so Valerie De La Rosa, Mark Diller, and Chenault and I were there representing CB2. And Samar Omar, who is a community activist who is the head of a Save Dapalito umbrella advocacy group, and Andrew Berman and Jonathan Mellon from Village Preservation were there, and various people from the Parks Department, the commissioner, and several others, an engineer, an architect. And it was very disappointing that there was nothing new, zero new. No, despite all the community board's resolutions, despite various public demonstrations, despite this, that, and the other, despite the fact that it's been made abundantly clear that this historic district was, the boundary was specifically drawn to include this building, all of this just doesn't matter. So while it's not mattering, we're also being told how carefully they're listening to us. So there is this kind of real cognitive dissonance when, against the fact that, you know, all of these things, so to be told we're listening to you while you're not being heard at all is truly strange. And I asked the question after the presentation that the Parks Department made. I said, it feels like this is a fait accompli, that demolition, other than perhaps, which isn't even really a full commitment, other than perhaps retaining whatever you deem may be possible to retain in the front facade. But otherwise, demolition, it sounds like this is a fait accompli. Is this a fait accompli?
And there's a kind of understory that the present Parks Commissioner is the former Manhattan Parks Commissioner. Everybody's called commissioner there. And she was the engineer of the original what to do with the building.
Yeah, yeah.
And now,
so, anyway, the answer...
Interestingly, it was turned over to her as a complete, to be the contact and everything. And now that she's commissioner, suddenly the Manhattan, I'm not sure the Manhattan commissioner was there even.
There isn't one, says Mark. Mark Diller says there isn't one. So the answer to, is this a fait accompli, was to not answer, but to take offense that I perceived that it was a fait accompli.
Exactly.
Seriously. So
yeah, it's like lessons from Washington almost.
Yeah.
Like
so anyway, and you know, Summer Omar has, she filed a FOIL request many months ago regarding funds that had been allocated in the city budget for restoration of the building, and she had some good questions about that as well. So anyway, we heard nothing new from the Parks Department, and we heard a reiteration of how much they're listening to us. And since then, this is what I'm happy to report. Since then, the Manhattan Borough President and Council Member Carl Wilson have written a very good letter, what I consider to be a very good letter to Mayor Mamdani and several others advocating for the restoration of the building and for its use still within the scope of the Parks Department, but for its use for, you know, much needed recreational and community recreational uses for the building that are non-duplicative of what is being proposed for the new building at Hudson Street. So anyway, that's what happened after that meeting. Right. So that's
their whole
in a nutshell.
kind of philosophy is that it's not a regulation basketball court and it's not a regulation swimming pool. And that's why the whole thing's got to go.
Yeah, and then when people ask questions, Carl Wilson was at Councilmember Wilson said, well, yeah, but there are other recreational uses, dance studios, yoga studios. You know, he rattled off several other, just off the top of his head, possible community recreational uses, and the commissioner responded that staffing that was too difficult or something like that. I think I inferred from that the idea of staffing some people across the street was somehow a deal breaker.
We're talking about a building right now. Now it's a staffing issue.
Yeah, I think it's, yeah, that felt like a stretch. Anyway, that's my editorial opinion.
And
anyway,
what we
that's what happened.
can think about, and I don't know when the right time is, but there will surely be one, is that we might do a similar letter from the board, maybe sooner rather than later, to follow up on this letter. Our continuing concern that we don't have a positive answer. It will have been a year in September from the time well, it's a year now from the time we had the resolution from the board. And then a year.
No, it's 2 years. It was September of 24.
Sorry. I blanked it. I blanked a year. But so and that's 2 more years of neglect.
Yeah. I think also, and you mentioned this last time we talked about it, this should be an adaptive reuse project.
Of
I
course.
don't know what it is, what use it is. I don't know that that's the key here. The key is that the building not be demolished. It needs to find a new use. Now, whether it's, we have a big, huge new gym and all of that down the street, so that's covered. And that was implicit in, and actually was explicit in what Manhattan Borough President Roman Siegel and Council Member Wilson had in their letter. And Village Preservation has also written a similar letter. So about adaptive reuse? Well, I mean, basically seeking alternate uses. So it wasn't like literally called adaptive reuse. No. It is essentially. We need to reuse it in a logical way. Right. Not create a lot of rooms that need to be monitored or something. So anyway, okay, that's where we are. I agree with Chanel that it would be a good thing for us to draft a letter basically echoing what's already been very well said by Brad, by Carl Wilson, by Village Preservation. I mean, they're pretty basic points, and I think a reiteration of that coming from the community board would be a good thing to do.
We're normally responding to something, but in this case, it's a good thing to do because of our obligation to be vigilant about the district. Much as we find the odd building that puts up something it shouldn't have put up and didn't apply.
And also it's consistent with previous community board positions. I mean, I went back and looked at the original Parks Committee resolution in favor of a rec facility in the new building, and it's the resolution was very well written and very clearly, there was no deal being cut in that resolution, you know, give us a new rec center, tear down the old one. I mean, if you reread the resolution, it very clearly says, it very clearly indicates that there's nothing implicit in that to at all suggest that approval of a rec center in that building equaled anything goes.
Well, and also I think,
and if you look back at the buildings that where we've approved demolition, not a one was in the least, they're non-contributing and no historic reference, certainly not historic buildings. There have been the instances of the, like Gay Street, where they were falling apart. And that keeps being pointed out, if it can't just stand forever without having something done to it. And they speak about stabilizing. And at this point, my trust in the Parks Department is less than tenuous.
well, we've been through a lot
I
of
don't
this
trust that they're looking after it properly.
a lot. Like, oh, we're listening. Yes, we like fresh air too. Oh, great. We have something in common. And then they don't respond to us in any real way.
And the defensiveness of the presentation that was made to us, because it started out defensive before Susan said fait accompli. And just it grew through any question, even not necessarily an opposing question, but it was.
The technique is usually just to do the same presentation over and over and over.
That's what this was, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of what I was going to ask.
Yeah, without any variation.
Did we learn anything new?
Yeah.
But I think, because I'm reading through the letter that Councilmember Wilson and Borough President Holman Siegel wrote, and I think it's interesting because it really focuses on, you know, how do we retain at least the minimum amount of recreational activities and services that were there before, while also being open to preserving the facade, preserving the outdoor aquatic facilities, and trying to preserve the utilization of the existing building. And I think that kind of lends itself to like what is a potential middle ground in terms of keeping as much of the recreation space and the facade that is historical in nature, but then maybe also combine it with some of the work that was done at 277 Canal, not build a super tall tower, obviously, but, you know, provide city services, provide public services, and make it multi-use. Maybe build housing on top, maybe build, I don't know.
You know, Arturo, I think this middle ground, I mean, in fact, I used that exact expression when I was responding to the commissioner about, you know, why is it so binary?
Right.
You know, why I think that the task is everybody can be a winner and there can be a middle ground here. And in terms of other, and I said, you know, there are other good public uses of this space. And the commissioner was quite territorial about claiming it for parks use.
Really? Oh.
Yes. And I thought that was interesting because it would seem like a natural fit, right? To I'm just reporting.
No, I wasn't there.
Was a surprise. I found to be surprisingly territorial in terms of like claiming it for parks, a commitment to parks. So that's a whole
It's
other.
disappointing, yeah, it's disappointing here.
Yeah.
It's sort of they want it, but they don't want to use it. It's
The worst of everything.
They want to tear it down.
Oh, and then there was something about a world-class aquatic.
You know,
That would be the worst outcome. They just completely sell it outright to a private developer or something.
Yeah. But that's
And what we can do with this letter that is not in the resolution is drill down on that September forum
yeah,
and just do community
exactly.
over and over and over.
I mean, somebody has to put some effort
Because
into
that's what
figuring
government
out what
for,
it should be. You know, we don't have
Not just doubling down. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it takes not a conversation.
That's not a dialogue.
No, it's work. Somebody has
monologue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just say that September 24 resolution was not unanimous. There were, 8 people who were in opposition and abstained. And so if there's a possibility to think of a way to make this resolution more holistic and encompass different point of views, I would also welcome that.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah.
Okay. And we're talking about a letter that grows out of our concerns and our experience and our record rather than something else.
Well, I think we have to just lean on.
And it's not a great policy paper. It is a policy paper, maybe disguised as a letter to these.
I think
But the immediate is to shake up the mayor and others to do something.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also a discipline that just because a building no longer is used for religious reasons or swimming or whatever it is, that the structure and the building and the site has to be reimagined to suit modern day living. I mean, we don't have museums. We have
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I think.
The needs is to save the building. Step one is to save the building. And so I think, although they're clearly related, the building and use of the building, I think that the immediate definitely is saving.
Otherwise, it's a moot point.
Yeah, then it
we would be wasting our time if we were thinking of uses for a non-existent building.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we want to bring that up over and over and over again.
What's that?
Reusing old buildings for new modern living.
Right.
And that's
well, I laughed when she said it may be 10 years or 5 years. 10 years, I think she said, because I sort of always thought that I might retire once this was settled, because it's the one big thing.
Well, you're hooked now. You can't go anywhere.
We're going to have a resolution written on my 97th birthday. I can't wait.
We'll have a party there.
And we can see how many anniversaries that is since we started it. So.
Well, I think landmarks are so under siege that whatever we can do to bolster the preservation laws at this critical time is a good thing to do.
Yeah. And also just to conceptually reset the thinking about this and to feature adaptive reuse and to steal what Anita just said, the idea of adaptive reuse responding to modern times, needs of modern times.
We all have to.
I think that's right.
I think that's fundamental.
Is how do you retain the character or the history of some of these buildings while not freezing the space and therefore limiting its use.
Exactly.
Right? How can you still pay respect to this historical tradition, but also be open to, building in a setback way and high, building in a different type of zoning.
They're just rethinking it from a different point of view.
Sometimes our landmark laws are a little bit, I think, too rigid. and so they could be refreshed. And
Well, they would be very flexible on a job like this. I mean, I've done some really big jobs, and they were extremely important landmarks. We tore out absolutely everything because it wasn't preservable, and we got an award for it. So, you know, if you have a good reason,
right.
I don't think landmarks have any problem with that. Really, I don't. I think it's just, you can't just go mess around with it without having a big picture and a rationale. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Oh, wow.
Everybody's
Have
okay?
a night ahead.
Hi, Eugene.
Hey, good night.
Um, we'll meet again next month.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
Thanks, folks. Take care.
And there's nothing looming in the pipeline like tonight's big one. So
And before we close out, I just want to say it was recently Eugene's birthday.
Wow.
Don't embarrass you, Eugene, but I know everybody will want to wish you.
Yes, we are happy birthday.
Thank you.
Blow out your candle.
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry, we're not going to sing to you, so it's okay.
Don't worry. I had a great birthday weekend, so thank you for the well wishes.
You don't look but one day older.
Right.
All right.
Good
Thank
night,
you, everyone.
everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Mark.